It's 1990, and we're about to find out what you get when you take the director who made Lloyd Bridges give up sniffing glue, mix him with the actor who ripped out Jimmy's throat, the actress who slept under Billy Idol's watchful eyes, and the comedian named for a fart cushion. You get an Oscar-winning, pottery-spinning, out-and-out blockbuster that proves that love never dies. It just fades into the great beyond when it gets its revenge. Welcome to the Screenhoppers. Welcome to Screenhoppers. I'm Ian. I'm here with my co-host, Michael. What's up, Michael?
Hey, hey.
We are chatting ghosts today. We did Pretty Woman and Dick Tracy last week, and now we are finally at the big headliner of the weekend, the kind of surprising headliner of the weekend, a romantic movie about two people playing with clay that's kind of phallic, but also maybe a little bit like a clitoris.
Kind of phallic. I thought it was quite phallic.
I got clitoris from it at first. It's between her legs. It's kind of soft and round on top. You didn't get any of that? Was it just me?
Yeah, I mean,
it was like a clitty.
Perhaps.
It was like a clitty dick or a dicky clit or none of that.
are we back to last week where it was, what was it, Pretty Dick or...
Pretty dick or dick woman or yeah. In this case, that crossover happened again. It was a very pretty dick that was between her legs, whatever it was.
And so he got involved and it collapsed. I think there's maybe a metaphor there too.
But did not expect to see this movie in the top 100, a big romance movie that maybe isn't as romantic as I originally thought, or maybe that the poster suggests it is.
I didn't find it very romantic at all.
You weren't romanced by Patrick Swayze?
You know, I love Patrick Swayze. We talked about Patrick Swayze.
He's making a second appearance on this show in 2 seasons. Good for him.
Yeah.
Unexpected, given that I've seen like all of, I guess now 2 Patrick Swayze movies.
You haven't seen Dirty
Point
Dancing?
Break. No, I actually have not seen Dirty Dancing. I know I haven't seen it, but I have seen Point Break.
Yeah, because he did Dirty Dancing and then he did like Roadhouse and some other actiony thing.
And he's also in Requiem for a Dream, right?
Is he?
Isn't he the one selling the drugs on TV?
Oh, yeah, he is.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've seen a little more Swayze than...
That movie's not a good time.
That movie is a bad time. That is an unpleasant movie. Aronofsky knows how to have a bad time at the theater. He's fantastic at that.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not there to feel good.
Although I do love The Fountain. That is a weird movie.
Yeah, The Fountain, I also like more than I think the consensus does.
The consensus, people dislike that movie. Like there's active distaste for that movie, but 2 amazing performers. And it's a movie that is more of a feeling than it is necessarily a straightforward story, which like visually, I don't know, it works, but we're not here to talk The Fountain, are we?
We are not. We are here to talk Ghost.
We are here to talk Ghost. Patrick Swayze isn't in The Fountain anyway. And it's, little background on this movie, really interesting. Nobody wanted to work with anybody on this movie. Every single, like, as you go down the chain of this movie, every single person was like, no, I don't want that person working on this movie. And yet somehow it all came together. So the screenwriter, whose name is eluding me, give me a sec, Bruce Joel Rubin, who did in fact win an Oscar for this.
Yeah, he won original screenplay, which
I know.
I was surprised to learn.
He'd written Jacob's Ladder and Deep Impact as well, but he did win a screenplay Oscar for this. But he wrote this movie, and he wrote it after watching Hamlet and sort of asking himself, what would happen if a ghost came to somebody in like 1989 and was like, avenge my death? Like, how would somebody respond if that actually happened in today's world? And so he wrote that story. Ended up being a really hot script. A lot of people were really interested in it. And he gets a call from this producer down at Paramount, and they're like, we've got a director. We're so excited. And he said in his head, he's like, who is it? Is it Spielberg? Is it Scorsese? I'm so excited. And then he hears it's Jerry Zucker of Zaz fame, of Airplane, and all of those. I've heard them called satires. I don't think they are. They're
spoofs.
They're spoofs. Like, I feel like there's like spoof, parody, and satire, and I don't want to like try to parse all 3 right now, but those, like, they live in spoof territory.
Yeah, for sure.
And he was like, no, I do not want him making this movie. And so he says, fine. Like, he really wants to make it. I'll go out to dinner with this guy, but we're not going to talk about Ghost. I just want to talk to Zucker, like get to know the guy. And apparently they made some pottery They fell in love. They had the best dinner ever. Really connected. He felt better about it. So fine. Zucker gets to make the movie. Now they're looking for their Sam Wheat. And they're putting up this big casting call. And Patrick Swayze, we talked about this on our Roadhouse episode. He doesn't want to do action movies anymore because his body is getting destroyed.
Yeah, there was a little bit of worry about typecasting too, I think.
A little bit, but he really was like, he basically was like physically exhausted from what he'd been doing.
I mean, we talked about it in Roadhouse, right? Like that movie literally broke him in multiple ways.
Yeah, because I think his knee was completely destroyed doing all of the martial arts and fighting scenes in it.
He broke some ribs.
He got broken ribs because he let Jimmy hit him so hard. Plus, I can't imagine that brick love scene was good for
Oh, we're back to the brick love scene, your favorite scene in the movie.
I mean, given that there actually are some sexy love scenes in this movie, I was like, I didn't have the same problems. Soft clay is far better than hard brick, I think.
Episode title?
Maybe. Looking for that episode title. So anyway, they don't want Swayze, but Swayze wants it so badly that he offers to read for it. And he's like reading for nothing at this point because his career is very big. We talked about how famous he was.
Yeah, he's getting offers. He doesn't need to audition for stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the guy was shutting down production on Roadhouse because people were flashing him from boats on the river. They had to stop doing things. And so he comes in, reads for it, apparently makes everybody cry. And we'll get into this, but I do think he's miscast in this role. Like, I do not think he is a good Sam Wheat. I don't think it is any fault of his own. I think the casting director should have identified this earlier on. We'll get to that. So then, now it's the matter of casting Molly Jensen. They like Demi Moore. Like, there's not as much of a problem there, right? But she shows up with that haircut and everybody's pretty mad because she didn't say anything and she just had it.
It was the beginning of the Demi Moore haircut saga that has defined her career.
Yes. And then finally, they're putting out a casting call basically for every black actress in Hollywood. And Whoopi Goldberg didn't get a call from her agent, didn't get anything. And she's like, why am I not hearing about this movie? And basically, they're like, because they don't want you. And Whoopi's like, why don't they want me? And they're like, well, you're a known quantity. And basically, you're a comedian. They don't want somebody funny in it. Zucker doesn't think that somebody funny can necessarily do this role in this really dramatic movie that has to have this like kind of darker tone and vibe. And surprisingly, Patrick Swayze's like, no, I want to read with Whoopi Goldberg. Like, he goes to her house, they hang out, they read together, and he really pushes for her to get this role. And she wins an Oscar for this movie. And I'll say right now, early on, Whoopi Goldberg is the heart and soul of this movie.
Yeah, she's absolutely the best part. We'll get into the movie in depth here, but like, if for no other reason, her performance makes this worth watching. And so even if, as you said, Patrick Swayze is miscast, it's the casting of Patrick Swayze that brought us Whoopi Goldberg.
That gives us Whoopi, yeah.
And so I'll deal with a miscast Sam Wheat if I get a Whoopi as
Oda Mae.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's funny, though, how everybody didn't want anybody on this movie. It just was this like long string that resulted in, and at least from, and you know, you can trust only so much after a movie gets made, and especially after it's really big, because some of the interviews that you get this information from were recorded, you know, a decade later, and when the movie's been as successful as it is. But everyone says that it was a really amazing set. They worked incredibly well together, really formed a team. It feels like there wasn't, while there was like normal conflict, there wasn't any like huge amount of drama that came out of the behind the scenes. Interesting, also weird little fact, the actor who plays Carl was the production designer's husband.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like he hadn't gotten a read for it, hadn't been called in, and they were like, well, he's not a very known actor. Maybe he can send a video in.
He is, scion of the Goldwyn family of, like, Metro Goldwyn Mayer.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, his grandfather, I think, is Samuel Goldwyn.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So.
He's a Nepo, huh?
Yeah. And there's
Tony
so many
Goldwyn.
of them in Hollywood. It's fine.
I mean, it's funny when we talk about Nepos. I mean, if your dad's a doctor, a lot of people become doctors. I'm like, yes.
I have no beef with nepotism. I think if the opportunity is there and you don't take it, you're kind of stupid.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as long as they are talented people, and he's a serviceable actor.
Yeah.
Yeah. He does the job. So anyway, that's a little bit of the making of this movie. So the budget, 22 mil, like kind of big for a romance, but then we'll get into it. There's like a bunch of visual effects that happen in this movie that you wouldn't necessarily expect. Actually, one other thing worth just mentioning about the production was when Patrick Swayze came in to read it, there were a ton of people passing on it. Bruce Willis passed on it. Nobody wanted this role. Nobody wanted to be an actor who was like not allowed to interact with the world, and no one was allowed to react to them except for one character. It's a very limiting role.
Yeah, it's a super limiting role. It's a movie about Sam Wheat, but Sam Wheat, like, it's not that he's not given things to do. He does plenty, but yeah, you don't get to interact with the world around you. Like, by definition, the world around you doesn't react to all of the things that you're doing.
Yeah.
And it ends up kind of silly.
You think? You think it's silly?
Yeah, I think this movie has a lot of just like silly ghost stuff.
Say more. Like, so when you say silly ghost stuff, like...
So he's a ghost. Nobody notices him. There's a lot of him like passing through things and things passing through him. There's this hilarious scene sort of later in the movie where he's looking for another ghost on a train, and he like just
great Vincent Schiavelli, by the way, the other best part of this movie.
And he like sticks his head through a train, and as it like drives through his head, he's able to see what's inside all of the cars. Like, you know, Zucker got to do slapsticky Zucker stuff with all of the silly ghost things.
I take it you were not buying any of the visual effects that they were doing, because like these were cutting edge visual effects at the time.
Yeah, and like you said, it's a romance movie, but because he's a ghost and has to do silly ghost things, they have to make those silly ghost things appear on camera. And so I imagine most of the budget went to those visual effects that don't really hold up now, 35, 36 years later. But yeah, at the time, for the type of movie, that's an interesting investment to make.
I mean, I definitely struggled with the movie in that every time you knew he was in front of a green screen, you knew something was going to pass through him. You just didn't know what it was going to be. And it was going to basically be the same type of gag. It was always, there isn't a lot you can do with a ghost. The ghost can pass through things, and definitely don't even attempt to investigate the logic as to why he can walk through a door, but he can get on a train, and that train will then move him forward with momentum.
Yeah, and I guess like for me, like the first
ghost logic does not apply.
The first couple times it happens, it's like, okay, I guess we have to establish that he's a ghost here, but it happens so much that it really does devolve into being a gag.
Well, it's interesting though. So like him not being able to interact with the world and him passing through things. Yeah, I didn't really like, I guess I wasn't as distracted by it maybe as you were. I saw it very much as a symbol of like impotent male rage. Like, and there's so much of that in this movie, which is like Sam is just this, I can't say anthropomorphized because he's not a human. Anthropoghost? Anthropophantasmized?
Yeah, it's whatever the reverse version of that is.
Of impotent male rage, because he's constantly like lashing out against.
He wants to punch someone, and he
wants to punch Willie
something over,
and he can't do it precisely. Like he can't do anything. He's so incapable. And you have a character that starts off as like very capable when he swings out the window and kicks that angel statue when he still has his, corporeal form, and then grabs onto it, which, by the way, I was like, physics doesn't work that way. That statue would have pulled his ass straight out of that window. But I guess we're accepting magic early on in this movie.
Yeah, I don't know that I got too hung up on physics given where we head.
Fair enough. Yeah, so I think it doesn't hold up, but I try really hard not to judge movies made 36 years ago.
Yeah, I mean,
based on whether
enough,
the visual effects are working for me or not, because this was so I guess Richard Edlund was the VFX supervisor. He was using a compositing system called Harry that was for a lot of these types of scenes when they weren't using green screen, specifically actually for using Sam entering the light, which I think it's worth talking about how he becomes a ghost. So Sam is murdered by Willie Lopez, or I guess they're mugged, right? So he and Molly are coming back from the show Macbeth, which it's bad luck to say the word Macbeth in theater. Like it's always called the Scottish play for that reason. And so there's this sort of like funny insider joke that this is maybe foreshadowing his death in a movie in which you already know that he dies, which this is another thing we're talking about, is like when your protagonist dies, like that's something that usually withhold from your audience. But the fact that the movie's called Ghost and we know that he becomes a ghost, we know that he's going to die.
Yeah, and it plays out in a way where they try to even build some tension, right? There's, he's in the ambulance, they go to the hospital, but by that point, like, he's dead, he's a ghost. And so it's a little weird going through that experience on screen because it plays out as though it's a reveal, but there's nothing to reveal anymore.
I actually read that scene, and I don't know how well it worked, I'll be honest. Again, I think Patrick Swayze's miscast. I don't think he plays the emotions, particularly like the grief and shock. He's a little kabuki, if I'm being honest.
Well, because everything he does comes off as just like irritated and upset.
A little bit, yeah. But like his shock at his own death is interesting. But I think that scene is intended, as I read it, to not necessarily reveal that he died, but to share in his grief of his own death. You're experiencing his death with him, and he's beginning the grieving process basically for his corporeal form and starting to figure out like, well, now that this thing has happened, what do I do now? And there's no real sense, like there's a little bit of Christian iconography in the movie that like they're presumably like non-religious people, definitely don't believe in ghosts, but it's sort of like, oh, everything I learned in church is wrong. And I do love this scene at the graveyard when the priest is like speaking and saying like, we give up our minds and we give up these things. So like, no, you're actually all wrong. Like you're 100% wrong. He's standing there and he is fully intact with his mind and all of his ambitions. But going back to the killing scene though, so when he becomes a ghost, you were saying before we started recording today that normally when a character becomes a ghost, so like in the play Hamlet, which sort of inspired this, is because there's like an unfinished business.
Yes.
And you felt like that wasn't here.
Right. So it's there. I just don't agree with it.
Oh, you think that? Well, I mean, I don't think it's isn't it up to Sam whether he has unfinished business or not? Not up to Michael?
Sure. Except that Sam's not the one. I don't know who is the one, God, I guess, who decides if you just like pass on to heaven or hell or stick around as a ghost because of that unfinished business. And he has this unfinished business, which is to avenge his murder. But it's a murder that frankly doesn't require avenging.
Why doesn't it require avenging?
So,
I mean, it's a pretty vicious attack against him that feels like so unnecessary.
It is unnecessary, and it's accidental. Or not accidental, but it wasn't the plan.
It wasn't the plan, yeah, which I think is worth noting because the first time I watched this, in my mind, it was the plan that like Carl had intended to kill him, but he actually just hired him to mug him.
Yeah, so the setup is that his...
which also goes into why Carl is not the manager of the bank, because he's just a bad manager.
Yeah, his partner at work, or co-worker, someone, employee...
We have to talk about that work relationship because
they're best friends.
He's got an office. Carl doesn't have an office, but that's such a tangent. We have to we're going to put a pin in office, not office.
Yeah, so
not office Carl.
They work at some Wall Street firm. Sam discovers that there are accounts that have money in them that they shouldn't have in them. We find out it's because Carl has been laundering money through the company for a drug dealer, and he needs to get the money out, and Sam has the password, and he needs the password, and
in the tiniest little book you've ever...
In a tiny little notebook that he keeps in his wallet.
Did you ever see those little books?
Yeah,
That's like such a period of the time. I was like, oh my gosh, like those books do not exist anymore.
Yeah. And so Carl hires this dude to mug him to steal his wallet to get the password, and he gets killed in the process. And then Sam's unfinished business is apparently to protect Molly from Willie's attempts to continue to get the wallet that he didn't get in the mugging. Maybe.
So he looks to the light. So the logic of this movie is that when you die, you are offered light or you're cast into darkness. That seems to be like the two things that occur. When you're offered light, if you do not take light is closed off to you until you complete whatever that unfinished business is. That's how I read this scene. In the moment in which he looks to the light and he nearly steps into that great beyond, Molly's asked him to stay with her. And that's what makes him turn, actually. It has nothing to do with Willie or vengeance. In fact, he stops chasing him at that point, and he's just like, well, I need to figure out what's happening. And she says, Sam, stay with me. He turns, the light closes. Which, as much as I do not think that the romance of this movie works as well as, say, Pretty Woman, I do think that moment is it kind of worked for me. It kind of did. Like that's the thing that called him back to life was really genuinely her request, his love for her, his respect for her. Like that Molly means that much to him that it distracted him from the great beyond.
That is so much more interesting than what I saw when I watched that scene. Because, like, I guess I just watched it at surface level, which is she's holding his body and just basically telling him not to die when she says, stay with me.
But I tried to think from his perspective. He heard stay with me and he said, okay,
I'll stay with you.
Yeah.
Sure.
But let's be clear. He causes so much fucking havoc in her life because he stays.
Yeah, because
like he nearly gets her killed.
And it's the thing.
Twice?
Like Willie goes back to her apartment, her loft to try to find his wallet so he can retrieve those passwords. Sam thinks, or I don't know if he thinks much, but he basically behaves as though Molly is the target. And so it sets off this series of events of this like cat and mouse chase between Molly and Willie that doesn't actually exist and puts Molly in danger that wouldn't otherwise be there. I mean, there's no movie if Willie just gets the wallet, gives it to Carl, Carl gets the money, pays the drug dealers, and everyone lives happily ever after.
I mean, the movie is Molly's attempt to move on. It doesn't have the murder mystery. It doesn't have all the money laundering. It actually becomes more of a straight drama and probably more of the movie I would expect to be winning Oscars, like genuinely, because a lot of these sort of feel like...
Yeah, if it was a meditation on grief and relationships and whether or not like love survives beyond the person who is loved.
But it doesn't really ask any of those questions.
No.
Yeah, in all fairness, this is a superhero movie.
Yeah, so let's dive into this because my biggest problem with the movie is I watch it and I was like, this movie doesn't know what it wants to be. Does it want to be a romance? Does it want to be a murder mystery thriller? Does it want to be a slapstick comedy with a bunch of silly ghost stuff? I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. As a superhero movie, though, superhero movies do have all of those things. They tend to have sort of a central violent conflict. They have comic relief. There's often a romance element kind of on the side. And so while this doesn't feel like a superhero movie, it doesn't present as a superhero movie, it does make more sense as one.
I reframed this as a superhero movie as I was watching it for all the reasons you mentioned, because I was like, this movie isn't that romantic. So then is it a vengeance tale? And I was like, kind of, but it doesn't even feel like he's necessarily trying. Like that's not even his primary motivation is to get
justice for his murder. He just is trying to protect Molly from a danger that he's imagined
and that he's not capable of keeping her safe from. So the closest analog for this, I think, and I am not a comic book guy. I don't know a lot about superheroes, but from having watched movies in the MCU, this is Doctor Strange.
Kind of.
So he has a love in his life, but he is like, will the love last? Maybe. He's not super willing to change necessarily for the love, but they do seem to be relatively compatible, at least in that he's willing to go along with things. He seems to love her. They have a good sex life, are built up around Clay.
And they're building a real life together.
And they're building a life together. That apartment is probably the most attractive thing about them.
That apartment's dope.
That apartment's amazing, yeah. I actually really like the opening, but we'll put a pin in that too. But so they have this life together. Some intense thing happens that results in completely changing their lives and making it so they can no longer be together. In this case, it's a murder, but that's not normally what happens, right? In Doctor Strange's case, what is it? It's a car accident, right? That like destroys his hand. So he can't do the thing that he needs to do anymore, right? Sam can't do the thing he needs to do anymore, but he is still around. He then meets his mentor that is going to teach him how to use his powers. In this case, it's Vincent Schiavelli on the train.
Stubborn asshole. What are you doing? What the hell you doing? What am I? You trying to move it with your finger. You can't push it with your finger. You're dead.
He's teaching him how to use his powers.
It's all in your mind.
Even if it is just pushing a penny.
The problem with you is you still think you're real. You think you're wearing those clothes? You think you're crouched on that floor? Bullshit. You ain't got a body no more, son. It's all up here now. You want to move something, you got to move it with your mind. You got to focus. You hear what I'm saying? How? How do you focus? I don't know how you focus. You just focus.
So this is his I'm Spider-Man on the roof scene, learning how to use my webs. I'm Tobey Maguire. I have to figure out what to do with these powers. Eventually, when he starts to master those powers, he comes back to rescue Molly from this danger. But of course, and this is the great irony of every superhero movie, is, you know, the damsel in distress, she's only in distress because of her relationship to the hero.
Right. If that association wasn't there, the villain wouldn't care about her.
Exactly. It wouldn't matter. You know, Willie would go and take the wallet, give it to Carl, and things would move on. But because he's gotten Oda Mae involved, because he's gotten involved in the money, now he has to use his powers to save her. And that's sort of where, like, the final, like, climactic scene in that attic space that they're busting out at the beginning, which I actually do love that turn too. I do think that that's an excellent bit of screenwriting, and that it opens on this space, which seems sort of haunted, and you realize, like, oh no, it's just a beautiful part of this apartment. And then by the end, it actually is haunted, but the ghost is the thing that's there to save her from the true danger, which is Carl that's gotten into there. And so this is like some of that, like, symmetrical writing that I actually do appreciate in screenplays like this. And so I think I liked this maybe more than you did. It's sounding like.
Now, do you like it more than I do based on your second watch that you've reframed the movie? Like, after the first watch, were you more negative on it?
I was. Honestly, the reason for the second watch is because I was very neutral on it.
Okay.
I really couldn't. I didn't know what to do with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, my
it felt like
frustration is I was just confused by it.
Yeah, because it felt like it was trying to do too many things. When I reframed it in this regard of him going through this superhero journey and ultimately gaining his powers, learning to use them, and then using them to save.
Bit by the spider, whatever it is.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And then he sort of like Oda Mae is almost his like sidekick in a lot of ways. Like, he really can't complete anything. Like, she's his Robin. And you have all of those things set up. Yeah, it actually becomes relatively watchable, even though, again, I don't particularly care for superhero movies, but being snuck in to a movie like this, it starts to work for me on a very different level. Plus, again, lots of VFX, love story, superpower that he can ultimately use against the villain. And then you get to wash his hands clean where he doesn't kill the villain sort of kills himself, as is always very important. Can't have your...
Well, yeah, and it I'll get to it a little later, but it is very important that the line between good and evil is very, very bold here.
Oh, like, it could not be bolder.
There is not a lot of nuance. You got good guys, you got bad guys. And
they're so
sort of
the bad guys are so arch.
Compromised.
They're so arch. I love that Willie, in the scene where Sam follows Willie back to his apartment when he's like tracking him. He's like, "That's my murderer. He was in my apartment. Like, why is he doing this?" And he sees that he has his wallet, and he gets off the phone with somebody, and he opens the wallet and he looks at a picture of Molly and then takes a swig of booze. The very next thing that happens in that scene is Willie masturbating. Can we just agree that that's the next thing that happens while Sam stands there and watches?
Yeah, I mean, because Willie has to be dirty.
He's so arch, because Willie's so arch. I mean, honestly, the racism built into that character is a little bit difficult to deal with, in that has to be from a certain neighborhood. He has to be as gross and foul as he is. He has to murder somebody that he wasn't even hired to murder, that he just like killed for fun. What does he call? He calls it a bonus.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you have to have somebody that evil in order, though, to set up. And like, he basically is the henchman of Carl, who is your super villain, right? He's the banker. And so, yeah, like, I think through that lens, it becomes a better movie. But also through that lens, it also makes Sam Wheat seem like kind of a worse guy than I already kind of think he is.
Is he a bad guy, or is he just kind of nothing?
I mean, Molly is the victim of his impotent male rage.
Yeah.
I don't know how you don't call him a bad guy, because Molly, if he trusted Molly, if he believed in Molly, if he thought that she could move on and be fine, which I think all of those things based on my limited interaction with her, then she probably would have been fine. But because he doesn't believe that she can defend herself, because he doesn't believe that she can see through Carl's bullshit, which, I mean, Carl's bullshit's pretty bad. When he spills coffee on his shirt and it's like, oh, don't worry, I'll let it dry, baby. My shirt accidentally fell off. Don't worry, I'll let it dry. It must be so hard to be on your own, baby. Like, Molly's not a fool. Like,
No.
even if he, like, makes out with her, even if he gets a one-night stand out of her, like, grief-stricken, like, state, she's not going to be a victim of Carl's bullshit.
Yeah, and I
But
agree
Sam
with
doesn't
you,
believe
but I
that.
don't think the movie does, because
No, I think
the
the-
movie
I disagree
paints
because
him so much as this good guy, as evidenced by the end, where after Carl
Why, 'cause he gets to go to
dies,
heaven?
he gets to go to the light.
he is literally the only New York City banker who gets to go to heaven.
Yes.
I-
Yes.
That's probably the least believable thing in the whole movie.
But that's the thing, is the movie wants the characters to be good or bad, and because when the bad guys die, these dark demon ghost things drag them into hell, and when Sam gets to finish his unfinished business that is stupid, he gets to go to heaven.
I mean,
I
his-
just don't think the movie agrees with you.
His unfinished business is to protect the bank's assets. Although I guess he
Yeah,
doesn't
I
even
guess
protect
so.
the bank's
No.
assets because he takes the money and donates it to the church.
Right.
That's how we know this is 1990. The Catholic Church and New York City bankers are good guys?
Yeah, but also in league with one another, so that's kind of realistic.
Oh, that's true. Laundered money is being sent down to the Catholic Church that is like right next to the bank, by the way. That's got to be some pricey real estate.
You know, it often is.
Like, I do think Sam is, and I mean, this is true of most superheroes. Like, at best, he's a complicated good guy, but I actually do think in a lot of ways, because of his lack of trust in Molly, he kind of ends up becoming more villainous than he intends to, because he's so focused on his anger, the injustice over his death, and then ultimately, I guess, because I keep trying to figure out, like, this $4 million. Honestly, it's the most convoluted part of the story. I don't really understand where the money came from. I don't really understand where the money's going.
There are drug dealers, Ian.
Yeah, they're drug. I know but it's just like beyond confusing to me.
Yeah.
That whatever's happening. But what I know is that Carl has done something bad, and that he needs to get this money to this person, or else he's going to get killed.
Which is all you need to really understand.
Which, yeah, and that's fine. I don't need to know more about it than that. But if Sam lets that happen, what risk does that pose to Sam? Because what the fuck does he care? He's dead. Like, why is he still trying to protect the bank at this juncture, right? And what difference does it make to Molly's life?
None.
Exactly.
None at all.
And this comes back to sort of like Sam as this representation of impotent male rage, which is he just is so angry about the injustice of everything that he may originally stay because Molly asks him to, but this is when this movie stops being a romance for me and just sort of becomes this like investigation into like, what do you do with all of this anger when something like unjust happens to you? And what are the results of that anger? And the results are like you put everyone around you at incredible risk, including strangers like Oda Mae that he drags in, who, I mean.
Yeah, but that's what's so frustrating by it, right? Is that what do you do with all of it? He does the wrong thing and then gets rewarded for it.
I mean, he gets the same reward he would have gotten before. I guess this begs the question is, can you be punished for the evil you commit in the afterlife?
Who knows?
I mean.
The movie doesn't really explore any of that.
I mean, you're the one who grew up Catholic. Why don't you tell me?
I don't even know.
In his life as Sam, despite being a banker, he seems like maybe he could go to heaven.
Yeah, he's decent and inoffensive enough.
Yeah, he's inoffensive enough. Exactly, right? He's willing to go to a play where men run around in tights with his girlfriend, with his live-in girlfriend. Although I guess he probably is having premarital sex, isn't he?
I know that's not very Catholic of him.
Ooh, that's very un-Catholic of him.
Yeah.
Maybe the $4 million helps out. Maybe that's why he goes to heaven. Ever think about that?
He pays the what were they called back in the day? Yeah, there's a word that
cover
the church
charge?
used to use for basically the cover charge to
The
heaven.
cover charge to heaven. Yeah, he paid the cover charge to heaven. So I think that's why he gets his reward, right?
I guess maybe. see this. We're talking about a more fun movie than the one that we actually watched.
I mean, we're not talking about anything that didn't happen in the movie. These are all things that happen in the movie, right?
Yeah, but the thread's not there.
I don't know. I mean, it's loose. This is definitely, let's be clear, this is not one of the better movies we've watched as our headliner.
No,
like,
no.
we had a really great time with both of our Hunger Games movies. We agreed that those are incredibly well-made films. This movie it's messy, but I think that there's enough in here to enjoy. And I think that the biggest thing to enjoy, and it's worth getting into, is Whoopi.
And that's really where we should go, because Whoopi Goldberg's fantastic in
She's
this.
so good in this movie. Her performance is superb.
Good. Her character is hilarious, like, and overtly hilarious, right? Not funny because she's doing silly ghost things that feel like they don't belong. She's funny because she is witty and smart, and she is a good analog for the audience because she calls out a lot of the absurdity in a really great way.
Yeah, she's a great stand-in for us because so much of what's happening is nuts. And I love that she's the stand-in for us because the crazy things that are happening are also happening to her. And she's like, why is this happening? I thought, like, I know my mother had the gift. I know my grandmother had the gift. I don't have the gift. Why is this thing happening to me? Like, nobody talks to ghosts anymore. It actually feels like it's from another era, which again goes back to that sort of like, what happens if this happens in the 20th century?
Yeah.
Well, maybe her mother was born in like 1898 or
ghosts,
right?
went out of fashion in the Victorian era, and now we live in modern times, so we don't have it anymore.
Where all she can do now is just take advantage of people who want to believe in ghosts. I also really love that she represents this nexus between the human beings that are desperate to speak to the dead and the dead who are desperate to speak to the human beings.
Mrs. Santiago?
Buenos dias.
I'm Oda Mae Brown. I understand you wish to contact your husband.
Si.
I believe he'll be with us today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
But you know, Mrs. Santiago, there's no telling about that other world. So you've got to be a believer, Mrs. Santiago. Are you a believer?
Si, I believe.
Then let us begin. I can't. It's too difficult. I just can't seem to make contact. I don't feel his vibe. No, wait. I'm feeling something. Did he know someone by the name of Anna? Consuelo? Lucita? Julieta? Josefina? Linda? Maria?
Si. His mama. She is Maria.
Yes! Praise God, I knew he was with his mama.
This woman has come because she wants to commune with her dead husband, and she has presumably found Oda Mae Brown because of the signs on the outside of her little building saying that she's a psychic, she can commune with the dead. But it's the same reason that Sam shows up. I love that her advertising works on ghosts. They also are susceptible to her marketing.
Yeah, it is funny that he like shows up and is like, oh, I need to communicate with Molly. I need someone who can talk to ghosts. Maybe this woman can talk to me. Turns out she can't, except she can with him and him only for some reason.
We don't know if it's with him and with him only, because remember by the end, there's
a ton of ghosts.
There's a ton of ghosts. So maybe it's always
yeah.
been the case, but he was the first ghost to think of talking to a psychic.
Or perhaps she had the gift, but there's also skill involved in talking to ghosts, and she just hadn't honed the craft.
And finally, the craft had been honed after talking to Sam.
Yeah, practice makes perfect.
I do love talking about craft, though, because Oda Mae, you always love an actress or actor who is doing two things at once. Oda Mae is a bad actor.
Yes.
I love how bad. She's not just a bad actor. She's a bad con artist. So that sequence that we just listened to, normally your psychic that is attempting to prey on people, they sort of play off of a statistical game.
They do the mentalist thing.
Yeah, exactly. How likely is it that this, this Latino woman who's in her 60s knows somebody named Josefina? Maybe not as high as Maria, which is the name she lands on after listing 12 other names. She doesn't even lead with the right name to trick this woman.
Well, and she's so transparent, right? Where it's like, oh, it wasn't in the clip, but it's like, oh, I'm having trouble connecting. And the woman's like, oh, well, what would help you connect? And she's like, $20.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
so she gets an additional $20 out of her, but she's preying on that desperation.
Yeah.
But what I really enjoy about that scene is her literally just being bad at tricking people, like being a bad charlatan, which is great because she's a bad charlatan, but she is in fact the real deal, which that play is a bit fun. But also that Sam shows up and he's like, It's unclear why he decides that this is the next course of action to take other than seeing the sign, but he walks in and he's skeptical of her bullshit. Like, he's like, oh my God.
He's like calling her out in the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, this woman's full of shit. And then like, that's the first thing that she hears him say is that she's full of shit, which in that moment is proving that she is in fact not full of shit.
Yeah.
Or she is full of shit, but she also isn't. Both things are occurring simultaneously.
You have the later irony of when she goes to talk to Molly, when she actually is communicating with the dead, Molly doesn't believe her for a second. Right.
Well,
so she makes her.
It takes her a while, but she actually does. She does end up believing her because of the amount of
does because of the amount of proof that's provided.
Yeah.
But Molly is skeptical, right? When it's real, Molly is skeptical, and when it's fake, people are coming to her wanting to believe and buy into it.
Well, because people come to her with that desperation. Molly hasn't come to her; she's come to Molly, and I think that this is what's so great about Oda Mae is Oda Mae understands that distinction. Oda Mae understands that, like, if I go to this white woman in downtown and attempt to tell her that I'm talking to a ghost, even though I am in fact talking to a ghost, that she will not believe me. Like, she's sensible enough to believe that. But like, even Sam doesn't understand that. Like, this is why he doesn't need Oda Mae because Oda Mae can talk to him. He needs Oda Mae because Oda Mae is like intelligent and like savvy, but also bad at her job. Like, she contains so much. And I think that this is why Whoopi probably won the Oscar for this, is because she nails his character.
Well, she is the character that has kind of that depth, right? Like, I was complaining that everything was like very much good, very much bad. Oda Mae has multitudes, right? She's this con artist, but she's bad at being a con artist, and I think it's because
she's been caught so many times. Did you catch young Stephen Root, by the way?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I was like, I've never seen him that young.
Yeah. She has a file 2.5 inches thick, I think they said, of all of her arrests.
Mugshots are the fucking best part of it.
With like the wigs.
The wigs and the face. Like, she looks annoyed at a certain point. She's like, oh, again. Like, her face just says, again.
But I think that speaks to the nature of where she's the one who is sort of bad, but because it's actually, she's not. She actually is a decent person. It's why she's bad at being bad.
She's still taking money off of like the grieved.
Yeah.
I don't know if she is she ends up being a good person. She really is the one who gives the $4 million, if we're being honest, to the church, because what does that $4 million mean to a ghost?
Right.
What's he going to do with it?
He's going to go into the light.
Yeah.
And pay the cover charge.
But on the flip side, I'm also like, what is she going to do with it? Because her name's not Rita Miller.
Right.
Like, she might be able to pass that bad ID once. Is she going to be able to pull it twice? I don't know. But yeah, she is the heart and soul of this movie. She is the parts of this movie that are by far the most entertaining, that are by far the moments where, because if I'm being honest, I've been kind of defending this movie. I've been a little bit of an apologist, but did I pull my phone out and look at it a couple of times during kind of the opening sequences and basically any time where Vincent Schiavelli or Whoopi Goldberg weren't on screen? Yeah.
Yeah, and
it's kind of, because it's just kind of boring.
It's kind of, it is really as basic as that, which is those are the two characters that bring a real energy to what's going on.
Yeah, they pop. And this goes back to Swayze just legitimately being miscast as this character. Like, he doesn't sell the grief. He doesn't sell the confusion. He doesn't sell the sort of like raw pain of just being detached from a life that you genuinely love. Like, I don't ever feel any of those things from him. I just feel that impotent male rage that I keep referring to, which is like, he's mad that this injustice has been done, that his life has been taken from him. And that's not enough to keep me invested in his character.
But it's the kind of rage you have when someone is overreacting to an inconvenience.
Yeah, this is like he had to pay a toll twice. Like, not he lost his life.
His plane ticket got downgraded from first class to business, right? Like,
yeah, like, not somebody who had this incredible life with this incredible woman in this incredible apartment, and things were going great. And now it's all been taken from him. There should be more to his performance. I think if his performance were more grounded, if it contained more of that, I actually think the movie would be a more exciting, fun movie in which those downtimes between the more lively characters of Oda Mae, of the train ghost, they would pop a little better and the movie wouldn't feel so uneven. Because there are moments where the movie just feels like a B-80s romance movie, And then there are moments where this movie really feels like a blockbuster and something that deserves the Oscars that it won, but it never quite balances all of that.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it deserved one of the Oscars that it won.
I mean, Whoopi definitely deserved it. It's an interesting screenplay. It really is. Like, as much as I don't think the performances serve it, and it's hard to see through the performances, but I mean, like I said, as I was kind of doing a close read of the text, there are things that justify some pretty interesting moments in the symmetry from the beginning to the end. Do we know what else was nominated this year against?
Oh, for screenplay?
Yeah.
I don't know. I know like Dances with Wolves won the adapted. But yeah, maybe it was a better screenplay. Maybe he was right that Zucker was the wrong director to bring it to life.
I think that in a better director's hands, who didn't need Swayze to bring in Whoopi because they would have seen why Whoopi was perfect for the role. So I mean, we're saying we're grateful to Swayze, but really maybe we should be angry at Zucker.
Yeah.
Because this just wasn't the right movie for him to take on. He wanted to do something that wasn't a parody or a spoof or whatever we want to call whatever he did.
And yet what we're saying is that it works best as a send-up of superhero movies.
I don't know that it works best as a send-up of superhero movies. I think it works best when it's doing its comedic side characters, which is what he does best.
Yeah.
But that's what Whoopi does best. I mean, that's the reality is like how much direction was there versus how much was it just Zucker knowing, oh, having worked with really funny people, I know when somebody really funny is on screen and I'm going to let her cook. And I saw an interview with her, and really what she said was that working with Zucker for her was a lot like working with Spielberg, where she was like, he just let me bring me into this and do my ad lib and have my comedic timing because he recognized that that's what I was going to be able to bring to this film. And so he knew that was the case. Whereas, you always want to like read a little bit in these interviews. In Patrick Swayze's interview, he says, it was a great working environment. We all became friends. We became a team. Like, Zucker and I had some friction, but things worked out. I'm like, oh, he didn't know how to direct Swayze, and Swayze wasn't right for the role. And so you probably had more friction here. Whereas Whoopi felt like she could just bring her whole self into this movie. And you see that because she's playing on so many levels, from the comedy to the sort of bad actor charlatan that she's playing as, her psychic role. But then also when she has to take on sort of the body language and cadence of other actors as they step into her body.
Yeah, it's a weird scene, but she does really great things with it.
Yeah, it is a very bizarre scene. And it's these are like these directorial decisions that you're always like, how do you shoot this? Do you have her and Whoopi hold hands? Do you replace? And they ultimately choose to have him step in because now we're seeing things presumably from Molly's perspective, where she's accepting that in fact Sam is inside of her, which I think isn't the right choice. I think it's the right choice.
Probably the only choice.
And that's, well, no, because the other choice is you leave Whoopi there and we just sort of like replace her in our heads. But for the entire movie, we've been looking at Sam.
Yeah.
And so they kind of backed themselves in where it had to be the choice. Okay, so it was up against Woody Allen's Alice, which I've never seen or heard of. Barry Levinson's Avalon, which I've also never.
Peter Weir's Green Card.
Yeah.
Whit Stillman's Metropolitan. I've heard the names, but haven't heard the movies.
I've seen none of these movies. This helped me 0%.
Yeah, none.
So.
None at all. Well, good for Bruce Joel Rubin.
I don't know. I like the screenplay. I do. I don't know that it's an Oscar winner, but I do like it. I think that the strength of this film is Whoopi, Vincent. I think Demi does a good job in it.
Demi's good.
Yeah,
right?
Demi's good.
She's a good actor.
Yeah.
She's believable. She can cry on command and puts that skill to good use.
Yeah. I think that she does the job very, very well. I think she understood the assignment and she accomplished it. Patrick Swayze just does not nail this role. And I think he really pulls the movie down. I think Zucker's inability to balance the tones hurts the movie as well. I think that if it had been directed as a straightforward superhero film, because I think that's the tension you're feeling, is that this is a straightforward superhero film that's directed as though it is a romance.
Yeah.
And you wind up with these incompatible tones from scene to scene where the movie just never fully gels.
Well, and I also wonder if because 36 years later, the thing everyone remembers from this scene is that, or from this movie, is that pottery scene, which is ostensibly sort of this romantic scene. In the context of the movie, though, it's kind of a nothing.
It is. That's the thing, is in the grander story of the movie, that is kind of a nothing, even though it is actually kind of a beautifully directed scene. It's really, really well done.
Right. But if that's the only thing anyone remembers of this movie, they're remembering a very different movie.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
And so I wonder if removed from those decades of people remembering that scene, the poster looks very much like it's like a romance movie. Like, I wonder how much I don't know if I want to call it like misremembering of this movie has colored how I received the movie.
I mean, it's tough to say. There are so many movies that are marketed in a way that is inconsistent with what the movie is. But
we talked about it with the Hunger Games, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But the thing that is undeniable about this movie, as much as we may both feel that way about it, which again, I mean, I'm playing devil's advocate, but I agree, it's not my favorite movie of the weekend. Like, we'll just say that right now. It's not even close. But this movie opens at number 2 and stays in the top 10 for like 20 weeks and ends up making this. So that means that, let's say the marketing missed. Let's say the marketing sold this as a romance. People showed up.
But the marketing's not what made it a top 100 movie. It's word of mouth.
That's what I'm saying, is at that point, you know that this was people telling other people, you have to go see this movie.
Yeah, because it didn't even open at number 1. If it was the advertising, it would have opened at number 1.
Exactly. This is exactly what I'm saying. So there is something about this movie that touched a chord with people in 1990 that said, you have to see this movie. You have to, like, bring somebody. We have to go see it again. And this is where I wonder, like, did this feel maybe a bit like a Titanic of its time? Like, I know that romance often gets sort of short shrift because it's seen as like female entertainment, and we tend not to give a lot of a pass to female entertainment. Like, a superhero movie can be sort of dumb and we'll forgive it, right? But if you get like a shitty romance movie that's like not super well done, we're like, well, that's B entertainment. That's not for me.
Yeah.
This movie, for whatever reason, just like it found its audience and it lived on for such a long time. And it is still very much a beloved film. Like, people do like this movie.
You know, it's funny. I think it was, in the last week's episode, you had asked me, like, had I ever seen the movie? And I had told you what I tell you about a lot of these older movies, which is like, I think maybe I have like been exposed to it. I had kind of seen it, but I don't remember it. I've never like sat down to like really concentrate and watch it.
Yeah.
I think my exposure to this movie was actually from the VH1 series I Love the 90s.
Like, somebody talking about liking it, like you actually had not in fact seen it.
About it being one of the big cultural phenomena of the year 1990. They talked about the pottery scene. That's why that's stuck in my head. I knew that it was like something that was big and remembered and beloved and has stuck around and is remembered. And now revisiting it and trying to watch it just as a movie, like, it's just very confusing to me.
Well, I will say
my
this.
male impotent rage is coming out because I don't understand the movie or why people like it.
So I'm not that big a fan of Rotten Tomatoes because it does some things in the movie industry that I find really frustrating. But I did put all of our movies Rotten Tomatoes score it in just so I can see like how they rank.
It was in like the 70s.
Yeah. This one's down in 70. It looks like 78, 77. So it is a much more low rated movie than.
Well, and I wonder,
but not as low as Twister,
because Rotten Tomatoes,
or Top Gun for that matter. Top Gun's much lower.
Rotten Tomatoes can be difficult too with older movies because Rotten Tomatoes didn't exist when this came out. So how many of those reviews are contemporary reviews from when the movie came out versus
and that's
reviews
the hard
now?
part. And then you also get the reassessment reviews too, which I find to be really frustrating when publications will go back and be like, "Oh, we were wrong."
Because if you read about this movie came out in July. The critical response was tepid. And then it went on in January to get, what was it, like 6 Oscar nominations,
something
including
like that,
Best Picture, 1 for Screenplay, 1 for Supporting Actress. And that brings me to something that's kind of an aside, but I think it's a thorough line of
podcast.
These 3 movies is we talked about how Dick Tracy's movie that was nominated for a bunch of Oscars that we wouldn't have expected to be nominated for a bunch of Oscars.
Yeah.
Pretty Woman nominated for a bunch of Oscars. Not the type of movie you would assume would be nominated for a bunch of Oscars. Ghost. And it's making me think that there used to be a time where the Academy Awards and the industry was actually responsive to its customer. that now sometimes I watch these award shows and I feel like there is a disdain for the audience in the movies that they pick, that they're trying to teach us something by picking the movies that they're picking rather than being responsive to the culture.
I mean, I don't know. Like, yes, we have this one instance where these three films that all were anywhere between successful and I would say very successful. Pretty Woman and Ghost are both very successful movies. Dick Tracy made money.
I mean, it made $160 million.
Yeah, right? it did fine. It had a pretty big budget, but it did fine. Yeah. Like it more than paid for itself. And so all of these films getting Oscar nominations, all of these being summer release films, which is also a little. Well, actually, I guess no, that was. Pretty Woman is what I call an early summer release. March seems to sort of be like the beginning.
It just had legs, and so that's why we're talking about it now.
And that's why we're still talking about it. But is it that they were being responsive to it, or is it because the people who would have been on the Academy in 1990, right, would have been born in between 1920 and probably 1960? And so some of that I think actually has to do with just the culture of big studios and like what they were making versus where independent film was in this era as well. Because the Academy now, you say it has disdain for the audience, but I don't know that that's necessarily the case. I mean, Wicked was nominated last year. We have several very financially successful movies nominated this year.
F1.
I mean, F1 is enormously financially successful. So is Sinners. One Battle, because it was so expensive, but it still made what did domestic 160 million or something?
I don't know.
And Marty Supreme was A24's most successful to this date. And so we do have films. I don't think any of those films show disdain for their audiences. I mean, Sinners is beloved by audiences.
Yeah,
F1 is very much beloved by audiences as well. So I don't know if I agree with that thesis or not.
I mean, I think we're coming out of it a little bit now, right? Like I don't think, right? Because we had, oh my gosh, the Everything Everywhere All at Once one.
But I love that. Right? But that was the best movie.
No, I think that was kind of a turn, right?
Well,
but there was a period of time where
was the big turn.
But like Nomadland won Best Picture.
Coda won Best Picture,
right? These movies that literally nobody saw, right? And so I do think we're coming out of it. I think we're in an era where there's like a resurgence of populism sort of broadly.
But you're looking at what won versus what got nominated. Because what won, because of the ranking system now, you do wind up with some weird wins as a result of this. Because when you have 10 films on there and you wind up splitting the vote among some of the larger movies, we do see these smaller movies now taking the win, whereas that didn't happen before. Because of the way everything has changed. So I guess I don't think that they're necessarily punishing audiences for what they like, because I'm seeing lots of nominations for movies that are very popular, like very well liked. But what's winning, I mean, at least my sense of it in the last, I'll say roughly 5 to 10 years, is that better films are winning I think that. And while like I think good movies are getting nominated for the most part, but better films are winning than used to win.
Interesting.
So, and I think that's okay. Like, and I think that it's not necessarily an audience punishment. I think that the Academy, because the Academy can kind of do two things. It can either validate what you already feel about a movie, and then you can pat yourself on the back for agreeing with a bunch of smart people, or it can put forth a film in front of you that maybe you hadn't considered before.
Yeah, and I guess like that's
because it didn't have the giant marketing budget.
Probably in reality not even this calculated, right? But
I mean, with thousands of voters, it's pretty difficult to be.
But it seems like
calculated by the marketers who put things up for your consideration.
I would prefer Hollywood direct the culture by putting out a product that the culture attaches to, than post hoc them pointing out and being like, this is the thing that the culture should think is important.
But so, like, let's use Anora as an example, which I know.
And I really like Anora.
And you like Anora. I love Anora, right? So using Anora as an example, that film had a $2 million budget. There was no marketing for that movie. There was no way to market that film. The only way for that film to be put in front of American audiences was for it to win an award, because there just wasn't a budget to put it in front of people. Whereas the number of commercials I saw for Trolls 4 or Smurfs 7 or whatever, right?
Sure.
Like I know that movie exists. It doesn't need an award, nor does it deserve one, I assume.
Well, no.
And so that movie's going to be put in front of me. So should awards stand in for a marketing budget?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question. I'm more asking the question than I am trying to answer it.
I mean, my answer is yes. Like, my answer is like, this is how great small movies get found.
Yeah.
And will every single great small movie get found? No. Like, so many will be lost to time.
I guess,
but you know what, Michael? We'll find them.
We will.
And we'll dig them up.
In our time machine.
We will.
I guess what I'm really saying is that the front runner for Best Picture this year should have been K-pop Demon Hunters, and it's not even nominated.
Well, this is going to come out after the Oscars come. So if we get a surprise write-in ballot for K-pop Demon Hunters, you can eat your words. But that feels like as good a place as any to wrap up our discussion on Ghost. Any final thoughts on it before we come back from our break, wrap up the weekend, and announce our next movie?
My final thought is really that this movie is best viewed as a vehicle for Whoopi Goldberg. And I sort of, in retrospect, like look at her career, and I'm more confused by it than I am the movie Ghost.
All right, with that, we'll be back with more Screen Hoppers.
Welcome back to the Screen Hoppers. We have been discussing Ghost. Ian has been trying to convince me that it's great. I think.
I don't know if that's exactly what I was doing. I should convince you that it wasn't as bad as you seem to think that it is.
That's
people of the 90s,
fair.
They're not that dumb, Michael. They actually had taste. And I know how you look back on all those boomers and Gen Xers and you have so much disdain for them, just like the Canadians and the French. But they're people too.
Okay. Yes, the Canadians and the French. But I think it's well established that I have said lots of nice things about movies from the 90s on this podcast.
Well, people from the 90s loved Ghost. Let me tell you, it was second only to Home Alone this year. So
I know. Two movies, though, that had like legs. Like those were movies that did not make this list because they had, $200 million opening weekends. These are movies that made this list because they were in theaters for like 4 or 5, 6 months.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, not unlike your pick from previous episode, Pretty Woman. All three of these movies, this is number 1, 2, and 3 from this year. And they all just... They lasted. They lasted on word of mouth. They lasted on people really enjoying them and feeling that they touched a cultural chord and that they wanted to either view it again or bring their friends with them or whatever. I actually was talking to my wife about this, which is like, because I didn't dislike it as much as you did, but I didn't love it. Yeah. And I was trying to envision a world.
Didn't hate it as much as I think it probably sounded like.
I was having difficulty envisioning a world in which I go see this movie in theaters in July and I go tell a friend, oh my God, you have to see this movie.
Yeah.
And I'm not there on this movie. Like, I don't understand that.
Yeah. I've been thinking about this. I've had lots of time to think about this. I'm trying to think like, why was this such a big hit? And I do wonder if part of it is that it served as just like counter programming, right? Like it comes out in the summer. In the summer, you have lots of kids movies. You have a lot of action movies.
You got Die Hard 2.
You have Die Hard 2 that it was up against. It actually came in second place this weekend.
Yeah, because it was counter programming specifically to that big action film and why Bruce Willis didn't take the role.
This was kind of an adult, or at least it was presented as like an adult drama, a romance. It was different than the other things that it was up against. And so, maybe audiences were just looking for something that felt a little bit unique. And this is unique in its own ways. But that was the best I could come up with.
I think it also offers a bit of hope into the great beyond. Like it is a movie that represents death and becoming a ghost and what the afterlife is in a way that is subtly pleasing. Like it's no Coco. Like I want the afterlife. If I get to pick an afterlife, I stand by Coco as my afterlife. But Ghost seems like, as long as you don't get sucked up by the dark, black, gray.
Yeah.
The sound effects for those monsters were babies crying backwards, by the way.
That's disturbing. That's more disturbing.
That's more disturbing than the actual sound. I know.
And the other thing I was thinking of is I believe it was your intro last episode when you were just talking about like what was going on in the world. You mentioned like the Iron Curtain falling.
Yeah, building schnitzel shops. Schnitzel. I don't know why I set myself up to say schnitzel shops. I should never do that again.
That was not great. I also wonder if like just the sort of presumptive religiosity that was in this, like resonated with audiences of that time. The communists are like noteworthily like anti-religion.
Yeah.
People want this like good and evil. Which also makes me sort of agree with you that like in someone like Spielberg's hands, it probably would have been a much better movie.
I actually think in Spielberg's hands, it would have been a really good movie. Like I want to see the Spielberg directed Ghost because he would have managed the tone so much better than Zucker does. It just feels, like we said, it feels a little bit sloppy. It feels a little bit miscast,
and he's good at doing sort of multiple things at the same time.
Absolutely. I mean, let's be honest, as much as like sometimes I take issue with Spielberg, he's kind of good at everything.
Yeah. I mean, even the people who like complain about Spielberg and pretend that making commercially viable movies is a bad thing, I think would agree that the guy knows what he's doing.
Well, I don't even think it's necessarily just creating commercially viable things. I think it's that we've been sort of living in Spielberg's imagination for like 40 years, and it's more that it's like getting a little boring in there, and we're excited to see something new. And a lot of his movies also are very sexless, which is a little bit irritating, I think, for film goers, definitely for critics. And I agree with that. Like they feel like adult themes that were made for kids.
Yeah, and sometimes he even will devolve into what some like feels like a like almost self-parody, where it's like, oh, it's Spielberg doing Spielberg again.
Yeah.
I felt that way about like War Horse, for example.
Speaking of, did you see that awful Jurassic Park commercial?
No.
Oh my God. It felt like it took a big dinosaur dump on my childhood. They got Sam Neill, Laura Dern, and
what were they advertising?
Xfinity.
That's worse.
Oh my God. They're like getting internet.
No, that's a universal.
Yeah, they're getting internet connection like at Jurassic Park, and everybody's having a good time, and it's in the original Jurassic Park. So they have all the footage. They have all. It made me genuinely.
TikTok live streams from Jurassic Park would have been fun to watch, though.
I mean, is that better or worse than beheadings from Iran?
Similar. I better because dinosaurs are cooler than terrorists.
All right, we're getting into weird territory. Let's do this. Let's rate Ghost.
Do
you think it's time to rate Ghost? Actually, you know what? Before we do that, let's close a couple loops on our earlier discussion. So I made a whoopsie, as they'll be called.
A whoopsie.
I made a whoopsie.
Okay.
Patrick Swayze was not in Requiem for a Dream.
That's why I didn't remember.
That's why you didn't remember, which makes sense. But you were so willing to agree with me. Look at how agreeable you are.
I know.
You need to stand up for yourself, Michael.
I was not confident at all in my memory of Requiem for a Dream.
I got him confused with Christopher McDonald, who plays that character in Requiem for a Dream. Patrick Swayze plays a Christopher McDonald-like character in Donnie Darko, which is another dark film from that era, and they play very similar characters. I got my wires crossed. So
that's fair. Both of those movies exist, I think, solely on vibes. So
I think Requiem is a generally better film.
You don't like Donnie Darko.
I actively dislike it. I would have to rewatch it, but I remember that was one of those movies where everybody thought it was really cool at the time.
Yeah, I mean, that was a movie that I haven't watched since high school, and I remember liking it in high school because it seems like the type of movie that boys would like in high school.
Yes. And because I was a hipster contrarian, I avoided watching it for a long period of time. And then when I did watch it, it made me angry. And I love Jake Gyllenhaal. I love Maggie Gyllenhaal. I was just telling you, I'm going to see The Bride after we get done recording here today. I'm so excited to see.
I can't wait to hear how that is because it looks crazy.
And that's what I'm excited about.
In a way that I'm excited for.
Like, I know it's going to be messy. I know it's going to be imperfect. And I know it's going to be fun. Like, and that I'm very excited about that. But at any rate, so yeah, that was a correction. And then we didn't close a loop also on something we talked about earlier. I said I was going to put a pin in it. I'm going to be better about actually putting pins in things going forward. But it was Carl's and Sam's working relationship. We were sort of like, oh, that's a strange thing that I feel like we need to unpack. And then we never unpacked it. Is Sam Carl's boss?
He's definitely like higher on the totem pole.
He's got an office.
He has an office.
Carl's out there on the floor.
And
he has the little book with the code, with the special banking code
that he needed to be murdered for. Or not needed to be, but happened to be.
Got mugged for, but murdered for because he hired a Puerto Rican. Never hire a Puerto Rican to mug someone if you don't want them murdered. That's what I learned from this movie.
That seemed to be one of the messages of the movie.
That did seem to be, right?
And it's also, I think, established that like there is work that Sam is above that Carl would normally do, right? So when Sam's like digging through the the accounts to try to figure out what the money is. Obviously, Carl's motivation is to not have Sam find out what the answer to that question is.
Yeah.
But it seems like that's like a normal thing that like, hey, like, why are you doing this? This is something I would normally do.
Yes, which now begs the question. So is he, if he's not his boss, he's his superior, why is he helping him do free construction work on his apartment?
Apparently shirtless. Apparently
he likes hanging out in his apartment
needs a
shirtless.
promotion or something.
Well, that feels like maybe Sam's taking some advantage of his position. Maybe there's a little Me Too Carl could be doing there. So.
I choose to believe that they were already best friends and maybe Sam got Carl the job.
Oh, and maybe he got promoted above him and got him the job, and it's one of those situations.
Yeah. Maybe it's nepotism, not sexual harassment.
I don't know. All that shirtless stuff going on. I mean,
be more progressive, Ian.
There's some menage a trois going on in this. Like, there's lines being crossed between the Sam Carl relationship prior to the mugging and the murder that I think are questionable. How Sam's using his power. So, at any rate, it is a really bizarre relationship, though. Well, at any rate, I just wanted to close the loop on that. So, yes, let's go ahead and rate Ghost, because it is time to determine whether this is a stream it, a skip it. I think we can both agree it's probably not a buy it or a 4K for either of us.
It is not one of those.
Yeah. So for me, this is a stream it.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I did, right? It was streaming on one of the like dozens of streaming services that I pay for, and I
think it was streaming on two of them actually.
Was it? Yeah, I watched it on Paramount, which is the best one.
That is the best one. So yeah, we'll shit on Xfinity. We like Paramount.
I'm also a stream it, in case I didn't explicitly say that already.
Yeah. It's for Whoopi Goldberg, right?
Yeah, Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah, like stream it for Whoopi.
Is great. Every scene she's in is actually a really fun movie to watch. And she's in enough of it that the hour and a half, 2 hours doesn't drag. It's not a horrible waste of time, but it's not worth much more of an investment than your time.
I heard Nicole Byer, this comic, she was on another podcast talking about how she had pitched a sequel to this movie in which she plays Whoopi's daughter, and she's sort of accidentally dating Carl's son, and how the movie would go forward with that. And it would be more focused on the sort of Oda Mae Brown family and what's going forward there with Nicole Byer and a lead. And you know what?
I would watch that.
I actually want to watch that movie.
I want to learn about Oda Mae Brown, whose mom and grandma like have the gift and are like real psychics. And she like grew up without it, but like had to get in the family business.
And Nicole Byer is just hilarious. Like I'll watch her do just about anything. And so, you know, for all the studio executives out there that listen to our podcast, I'm sure with whom we have tons of pull.
Maybe Lionsgate. I was really nice to Lionsgate.
You gave them an MVP. I know. Sucking up to the suits.
I guess so.
Yeah. You accept corporate consolidation. You suck up to the suits. Who are you?
I don't think you're that surprised by this.
I know. You're just so willing to accept the universe for the way it is. I'm going to fight the man over here, though.
All right. You have fun doing that.
I'll have
sleep
so much
at night
fun.
instead.
All right. So we both agree that this is a stream it. Probably not the best, but you don't need to necessarily skip it.
Really, it's hard for me to say skip it to anything that makes the top 100 of the last 50 years, right? Because
something about it just feels culturally important.
Yeah. And I think, the premise of this podcast is that these are movies that had an impact. We want to explore that impact, but we also want to take time to appreciate everything else because that's where the gems are.
I know for a fact that when we get to the first Joss Whedon directed Avengers, I'm pre-rating now. Skip it.
Skip it.
That movie is garbage. I detest that movie, but we'll get there when we get there. All right. So time to MVP the weekend.
All right.
So This is looking over all three films. Who do we feel did just the best work, the above and beyond on this weekend?
Yeah, I actually think there are a lot of viable choices here.
Oh, I think Whoopi's a great choice. I think Julia Roberts is a great choice. I think we've got Pacino, Madonna are all solid choices. There's some really good work happening here. And I know you don't agree with this. I would even say the screenwriter of Ghost. I think it's a good screenplay. It's a good screenplay.
The Academy agrees with you, so I don't know how much of a stand I could really take on that one.
I mean, the Academy has made some terrible errors over the years.
A few.
Yeah, just a misstep or two. But it's not a bad screenplay. It's a solid one. If I had read it, I would have been interested in it. So
yeah, and I think even though I have my obvious problems with the movie, I agree with you that there's a good movie in there that could have been brought out by perhaps a better director.
Yeah.
All right. So, did you pick from that list?
I did not.
Who did you go with?
I went with Warren Beatty.
That's a good pick.
Yeah. So I went with Warren Beatty, and not as a director, not as a star of Dick Tracy, but as the producer, because Dick Tracy is such a singular film. It's such a unique event. Visually, the cast, the source material, and how it's brought to life. If you think about the history of that from 1931, when it first appeared in comic strips, all up to 1990, we're talking nearly 60 years of this dream of bringing this character to the big screen. And Warren Beatty does it with passion and fervor and an incredible vision and an incredible cast. And I think
now 36 years later, he continues to protect the property.
I know. He's so great about... He's such a great steward of Dick Tracy.
Yeah.
And I think as a steward of Dick Tracy, he really deserves the MVP on this weekend, because no one else could have made this movie the way he made it. We're talking about how Spielberg could have made a better Ghost. I don't think somebody could have made a better Dick Tracy.
You know, this is giving me awarding MVP to the Lionsgate executives, right?
Well, this isn't an executive thing, though. This is a lifetime built up of his icon. You know, and him being really protective of his relationships and as his position as a movie star.
But he took a big swing and took risks in that big swing. And, you know, my understanding, like, he really did put himself on the line, whether it was bringing people in who he had relationships with, who maybe wouldn't have otherwise been involved in this movie, getting a big studio like Disney to see it as a potential franchise.
Yeah.
It didn't work out, but he brought it to them with the passion that I think convinced them that was a possibility.
I'm glad it didn't work out. I don't want to see it as a franchise. I love where this movie exists, frozen in amber, in this moment, because I don't think a sequel to this movie would have been anywhere near as great and as unique as the original.
Yeah, part of what makes it great is that you sit there and you're like, there's nothing else like this.
Exactly.
And from a story perspective, it's not that special.
But Dick Tracy doesn't offer very special stories.
No.
But from the way the
there are
characters
performances,
interact,
and
the
then
performances.
just the look and feel. I mean, it's a world I want to spend time in.
Exactly.
Awesome.
All right. So did you pick from that list that I just laid out?
I did pick from that list.
All right.
All
Who
right.
did you go with?
I picked Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman.
Yeah.
And it's because it's impossible.
I mean, do you even
watch.
have to justify why?
No, like you watch the movie, and I think just the way she makes you feel in all of her scenes.
I know. You don't even
sort of
have
makes
to
her-
explain this. I'll just put a still shot of Julia Roberts up on the screen here
as
on
long
our
as
YouTube
she's
channel.
smiling.
And that will describe why she's the MVP.
Yeah, she's just so unbelievably likable. She's, you know, we joke about like hooker with a heart of gold, but like she really does bring so much heart to that story.
I mean, she's a hooker with a heart of gold. She's a hooker with a smile that can light up a room. She's a hooker with a brain.
she's bright. Yeah,
She's
I think that's the other
incredibly
thing is that there is
yeah.
a lot of respect for a character that a lot of movies wouldn't have respect for. They would caricaturize that. Is that a word? Sure,
It is now.
That character they would have painted with much broader strokes.
Yeah.
I think than this movie painted with. And you need an actor who can give all of that depth to a character that is not necessarily inherently deep or what you would assume is deep. And yeah, I mean, I love that movie. All of my weird misgivings about like the story or what the movie's trying to say, none of that matters because at the end of the day, it is a romance between two characters that you fall in love with, especially Julia Roberts.
You know, it's kind of interesting as you were just saying that, how much Pretty Woman and Ghost actually have in common, though, as far as a production. You have this pretty dark script that gets picked up by a director with a very sort of light, audience-friendly touch.
Yeah.
And you wind up with some dark undertones, but a story that goes over it that feels very audience friendly, that feels
It
like,
is audience friendly.
Yeah,
They connected with audiences in major ways.
Neither of them are quite 4-quadrant, but they connect with adult audiences in really major ways, and wind up both being pretty iconic
Woman
films.
Is weirdly 4-quadrant, right? Like we both talked last week about how like we
It's
watched it
rated,
when we were young.
Yeah, it's rated R, but it's not rated R. It's the rated R movie that shouldn't have been.
I liked it before I was old enough to really understand the dynamics of prostitution.
I mean, the dynamics are pretty simple.
They are.
Yeah,
but, I'm grateful that I had a childhood where I didn't understand the dynamics of prostitution.
You were so sheltered from the sex for money game.
Yes.
I'm very envious.
Oh.
You should have seen all the sex for money that I had to be exposed to. I took a whole class on it.
I went to Catholic school. There was no money involved. JK.
Well, this is actually a good pivot into our movie pick for next week and our weekend. So we're trying to connect some dots. Pretty Woman, as much as it shouldn't have been rated R, it was rated R, produced by Disney. It held the record as being the top grossing rated R film that Disney produced for over 30 years until that record was taken by our next headliner, Deadpool and Wolverine. Or is it Deadpool versus Wolverine? I forget.
I think it's Deadpool and Wolverine.
They're just together, right? They're not against, but they do have a couple squabbles, as I recall.
There's a squabble or two.
There's a squabble or two. So we are jumping to July of 24.
Yes, July 26th, 2024 to be exact. And it is another packed weekend. All right, July 26th, 2024 is headlined by Deadpool and Wolverine, which brought in an amazing $211 million
Jesus
that weekend.
Christ.
We've got Twisters, Despicable Me 4, Inside Out 2, Longlegs, A Quiet Place Day 1, Bad Boys, Ride or Die, The Fabulous Four, Fly Me to the Moon, and Maxine rounds out the top 10.
Well, I know that I represented at least 40 of those $211 million that weekend.
$40 million?
No, $40.
Just $40.
Yeah, just the $40 that it cost, for
so did I.
the three of us to go see that movie. Well, I mean, everything you heard about it, you were like, Disney bought Deadpool? What in the world are they going to do with this little rapscallion?
You know, there was, if I'm recalling correctly, a little bit of nervousness that it was going to get some of the edges sanded down, that it was going to be softened.
I can't wait to talk about this, whether we feel that it did or it didn't.
I mean, it was still a very R-rated movie.
It was so, but that's not what we're saying. Is it a very R-rated movie, or did it get its edges sanded? And I will save that for that episode. But it's a pretty stellar lineup for the weekend of everything going in there.
A lot of movies, a lot of sequels.
Lots of sequels. Despicable Me 4, Inside Out 2, which I really that was a fine movie.
That was a fine movie. It did well.
Yeah. I'm excited for Hoppers this month.
I know
it's still coming afterwards, but I'm going to see Hoppers this weekend as well.
Early reviews have me even more excited for Hoppers, but I didn't need those. The trailer sold me on it.
Yeah, the trailer looked great. I know. It looked like they finally were trying an original idea. I really haven't loved a Pixar, I'd say, since Luca.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think Luca's really cute. I love
Luca
a lot.
I like Luca because it's a small story that has a lot of texture and place in it. That's something that they're very good at.
And that's something that feels like something only Pixar could do. I don't think DreamWorks, and I don't hate DreamWorks. I think they've made good movies, but I don't know that DreamWorks would have taken something that small and turned it into a big, like, tent-pole-y kind of movie.
No, and I love it for that.
Yeah.
But at any rate, there's some interesting picks. So what did you go with for this weekend? What are we hopping to?
You need to go first because your pick
was designed to influence your pick.
Was designed to make me pick my pick, and it worked.
I did have machinations. Do you say machinations or machinations?
I think that's one of those ones where I will alternate
based on the person you're sitting across the table from,
or I don't know the cycle of the moon, whether or not Mercury's in retrograde. I can't explain it.
Whether it's the year of the rat or not.
Yeah.
Okay. I am a hardcore machinations. All this machination stuff, it's not even fun to say. I like hitting that mac.
Machine is the soft, but yeah,
but it's from the Latin where you would never say mash, you'd say mac.
Okay.
Yeah.
You would know this better than I would. I'm going to go with you.
At any rate, it's more fun to say, and that's the reason I would say it. Because hitting that hard CK sound,
aggressive.
It is. It's aggressive. It feels like you are trying to manipulate someone, which is exactly what I was trying to do.
You did.
I chose Maxine, knowing that would force you to also choose a horror movie because you're a horror.
Yes.
Horror.
Yeah.
Horror. Exactly. A horror. And so I chose Maxine. I have seen X. I liked X. I've not seen Pearl, but I would love to see Maxine. It looks like a lot of fun. Kevin Bacon looks like he's going to be chewing some scenery in it, and I'm here for it, which made you choose.
Which made me choose Longlegs.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I am a horror.
I know.
It's my favorite genre, and it's not even close. I've loved horror movies since I was really young. And we had so much fun when we did Action Week. So
We did. And we haven't done horror since The Conjuring last season. And that was a fun one. I enjoyed The Conjuring.
It's a good movie.
It was a good movie, yeah.
And so, yeah, when given the opportunity to choose another horror movie, especially a really weird, batshit crazy horror movie like Longlegs is going to be, you were right. Your machinations functioned properly.
Predicting your next move is not challenging. But I'm excited to see it. I wanted to see Longlegs specifically, and I wanted to see Maxine, and I knew if I choose Maxine, you'd get Longlegs, and I would get two movies that I haven't seen yet. So I am killing it on my big...
Are you going to watch Pearl before you watch Maxine?
I don't think so.
Okay, you don't have to.
Yeah, I was like, I don't have the sense that I have to. It's not... I might.
Pearl does have David Corenswet in a small role.
Oh,
and
interesting.
He's really good in it.
I hadn't seen him in anything prior to Superman.
Yeah.
I think Rosie's going to be on this episode, so I'll connect with her and see if we have time to.
Well, I mean, then she's going to want the Corenswet.
I don't know that she's that into the Corenswet.
Oh, she should be.
No, that's not her type. She likes her movie crushes are I think Tom Hardy, Paul Bettany, and who's her other one? I know those are her two big ones. Yeah. Those are her passes.
That's funny.
Yeah. Mine's Marion Cotillard.
Marion Cotillard.
Yeah, and then Ana de Armas.
Yeah,
that's indisputable.
I mean, Ana de Armas, they literally made an entire movie where it's like, we're gonna make a robot that is meant to tempt people, and we're gonna use Ana de Armas as robot tempty lady.
Are you talking about Blade Runner?
No, I'm talking about Ex Machina. Which one is it? Machina, right?
That's not Ana de Armas.
No, it's not.
No, that's Alicia Vikander.
Oh, you're right. Darn it!
Yeah.
I just pulled a Patrick Swayze.
Yeah, I was like, she's not a robot in Blade Runner, but she is really sexy in it.
She is. No, you're right.
She's a hologram that tempts a robot.
Yes.
Yeah. God, that movie
That
really
movie's
blew
good
me.
too.
God,
Yeah.
that movie's so good. I was on vacation when I went and saw that movie in theaters.
Is that movie the one that started your love affair with Villeneuve?
It is. Yeah, I didn't know who Villeneuve was, and we were in New Orleans, and it started raining, and we were right next to a movie theater, and I was like, I know what I'm like. I don't want to be out in the rain, so I know what I want to do. And so we went and saw Blade Runner 2049 because
I can't remember which movie it was, but I too went to a movie in New Orleans because it was raining when I was there
interesting.
once. Yeah.
Well, there's just a theater right there in the square.
Yeah.
Like when you're down there on Bourbon Street, there's literally just a movie theater right there. There's like a indoor mall, and so
I was a kid, like a young teenager with my family, and we went to a movie in New Orleans as well.
Blade Runner is one of my favorite movies of all time, and knowing that it had gotten a legacy sequel, which was such a good legacy sequel, that died in theaters, and now I think
it has an audience now.
And that's what happens with Blade Runner every time.
Yeah.
The original one was an absolute failure in theaters and went through 4 different cuts. The original theatrical cut is
one of the greatest of all time.
Many people think so. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's another movie like Apocalypse Now, where it's like the original theatrical cut sucks. It's like it's not a good movie.
And there are like 5 versions, and you have to make sure you pick the right one.
Yeah. Oh my God, the international version of Blade Runner is all voiceover, and it sucks.
Yeah.
It is an unwatchable piece of garbage because it completely ruins the mystique of the film by trying to make it more like a Philip Marlowe story in the future and leaning too hard into those noir elements to the point where it almost gets like a parody. Yeah, it's no good.
So it's director's cut is the right cut, right? Because there's like the theatrical, there's directors, there's final, there's
finals.
Finals the right one? Okay.
Finals the right one for Blade Runner, and Redux is the right one for Apocalypse Now. Maybe we'll do an episode one day on what's the right cut to watch of every single movie that's been recut. We'll do a mini episode on that one day, but that is not today. I think. Did we do it?
I think we did the thing.
We did 1990, so we are hopping to 2024.
Excellent. Well, thank you everybody for spending your time with us in 1990. Make sure and follow us at the Screenhoppers. And you can follow me at Michael_up_left. You can follow Ian at
Ian_up_left.
And, also visit us at upleftmedia.com. Check out everything that Ian is up to there. And in the meantime, make sure you are joining us again next week for Maxine and Longlegs. And watch some other movies. Movies deserve your time. We love movies. You love movies. We all love movies. Watch some movies.
We'll see you next time on The Screenhoppers. The Screenhoppers is an Upleft Media production, written by Ian Tarter and Michael Smith. Produced, sound engineered, and edited by Ian Tarter, with special thanks to Rosie Page.